let's talk college football, Ben, because the Big 12 preseason poll came out earlier this week. The media days came out. We heard some comments from Deion Sanders talking about, Colorado's the Super Bowl for everybody that plays them, which is funny. I saw some tweets like, Colorado State basically won the Super Bowl against Colorado last year, or Stanford beat them. They won the Super Bowl and stuff like that. But no Pac-12. The Big 12 conference adds 4 teams from the Pac-12. Utah, Colorado, Arizona State. Utah is the preseason favorite at number 1, as well as the odds-on favorite at plus 310, followed by Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Kansas, Arizona Wildcats at 5. And, Ben, your Arizona State Sun Devils dead last in the preseason poll. And we both agreed on this, but I'll give you the 4 here. We both agree. We don't think the Arizona State Sun Devils are going to finish last.
No. I think a lot of this poll, and I'm not going to blame the people that voted on it. Like, sometimes there are lists where you're like, what are you thinking? Oh, you don't think whatever it is here in Arizona, you don't think Kyler Murray's top 10 quarterback? Okay, well, you just haven't been watching football. Like, stuff like this, I don't expect really anything different. Now, I do expect Kenny Dillingham and Arizona State to finish better than this. And, it's interesting because I framed this conversation earlier in the week when I was talking about it. If Arizona State does finish in the 16th, the last place in the Big 12, do you know what kind of trouble that spells for Kenny Dillingham and company? Instead of this organization, this college that is on the up and up, even after a tough, last year losing a bunch of games, losing to Colorado basically at the buzzer. It's one of those things where instead of looking up, okay, this is the year we take another step forward, this is the year we activate the valley, like Kenny Dillingham loves to say, you're looking at, in his 4th year, or 3rd year, I believe, Kenny Dillingham, you're going to say, is this guy on the hot seat already? So not only is ASU not going to finish last, they legitimately can't. Their back's against the wall. The timer is up for them to set the foundation and be a capable team. We're not asking them to win 10 games this year. That's ridiculous. But can they win 5? Can they win 4? Can they win 6? If they do that, if they become bowl eligible, that's like an insane accomplishment for ASU. The standard is not that high. So I don't expect anything different from Big 12 reporters and some former Pac-12 reporters voting on this, because you just expect the Big 12 to see new coach, still a university that's trying to get their legs under them. It's just something that not only won't this happen, but it can't happen. Do you agree?
Oh, I agree. And I think for Arizona State, the win total is actually a 4.5, so plus money there.
Exactly. If
you think over 4.5. You look at their schedule, they've got some tough stretches. Mississippi State early on. They've got home games back-to-back with Kansas and Utah, and they also play Oklahoma State and Kansas and Arizona. So they're going to play the top 5 according to the preseason poll for Arizona State. But when you look at the roster, I agree with you, Ben. I think this roster is super slept on. I think for the transfers that they got in, I think a guy to watch out for this season is Raleek Brown from USC. Cam Scatabo is also a great running back they have too. But they also got some transfers from big-time programs, Texas, Florida, and some other, grad transfers that have a lot of experience there. So I agree with you, Ben. I don't think Arizona State's going to finish last, but I think they probably finish around 12, maybe, 13. I definitely think they probably finish top 10 around that range too. But when you look at the conference as a whole, I think the biggest thing to sum up, people are saying it, and I agree. I think the conference is the most wide open according to all the Power 4 conferences. But that doesn't mean that we're going to see more than one team. I just think the SEC is too deep. The Big Ten's too deep. And I think with the Big 12, it could be one of those situations like, the Pac-12 always been the carousel where it's like Arizona State beat Arizona, Arizona beat Colorado. Yeah. You don't see a Pac-12 team come out of there, except last year with the CFP. I think you might see a situation like that for the Big 12. And I think the biggest key here is it's going to be an offensive conference. You're going to see a lot of solid, experienced quarterback play. You got Utah's with Cam Rising in his 7th year, which, in fact, he's actually eligible for an 8th year, which is funny to think about. Kansas State.
He's going to come back.
Oh, I mean, he says he's not, but NIL talks, bro. NIL talks. And for him, if he says, you know what, I'm not going to make money in the NFL, I'm not going to get drafted, why not stay for an 8th year? Which, for Utah's point, and people were talking about it, I heard it on the radio this morning, talking about Utah's having a seventh-year quarterback could hurt him for the long run because you don't really have an establishment at quarterback. You don't have a lot of guys underneath with a lot of experience because you look at last year when Cam Rising was hurt, they were a damn good football team with really poor quarterback play. It was just based on running game and based on defense. But when you look at that Utah team with Kyle Whittingham, of course they're the favorite, but it's going to be interesting to see with Cam Rising what Utah can do.
Yeah, Utah is a really interesting team because with Cam Rising and company, it's first off, your conversation about, and I know you probably don't believe this, that the quarterback play is going to hurt them later on for having a 7. Worry about that later.
Yeah.
Worry about that later. Like
championship or bust.
Yeah, this is a highly talented team that, and I'll get to this in just a second, that absolutely should be the favorite in this conference. But then you see U of A in the University of Arizona, for all the Big 12 people that haven't heard that before. Should be the second team on this list. You know, I understand. It's a new head coach. It's a new system. It's a whole new everything. But there's still Noah Fafita, T-Mac and company that are going to carry this offense. U of A and Utah are going to carry this conference this year. And so when you say, is there going to be more than one team in the CFP this year? I think absolutely there can be this year. Do I think it will happen? No. But I could see Utah and U of A both slipping in. Both slipping in because Big 12 will get their own representative. And if you have a team that is a one-loss Utah or one-loss U of A team, which in a Big 12 that, yes, is not the SEC, but the SEC and the Big 10 are really top-heavy. The Big 12 is pretty much good 1 through 10 on this list. And if you really want to throw Colorado in there, 1 through 11, who we expect to be better this year. So those two teams with a very good resume can sneak in. I don't think it will happen because I think there's some real bias to the SEC and the Big 10. We saw that last year with Florida State getting snubbed because it's never been about the most deserving. But if you are painting that picture, I believe these two teams can do it because these are two really good football teams that just got left behind in the Pac-12, which obviously was dissolved this year. You know, another thing that really sticks out to me is just how bad Colorado is projected to be this year. I know it's fun.
11's higher than what they were last year. I think last year they were like 12.
Well, they were coming off a 1-win season before that. Like, so I get that. But Colorado, like they do have some talent. And as much as Deion Sanders drives me insane, I mean, he does know how to coach. It seems like it's very old school, and I feel like times he's tone deaf. I don't think that they're going to win this conference. I think that is no shot that's going to happen. And no, I don't think that they're everybody's Super Bowl. I think everyone wants to beat them up because they're annoying and loud. But I do think this is a team that could finish in the top 6 if they get hot. Quarterback play is everything. And Shedeur Sanders couldn't play, right? Caleb Williams kept USC afloat last year because he can play. You know, they didn't reach heights that they wanted to, but they could be a top 16 in the Big 12.
No, I agree. I think for Colorado, you nailed it on the head. Quarterback play is a big thing. What we saw from Shedeur Sanders last year with how bad that offensive line, I don't think they can get worse at offensive line than what they did last year. 30 sacks or 40, 50 sacks of what he hit last year. They've got 22 incoming transfers. The O-line and D-line will still be a question. And the biggest thing, too, is can they run the ball? Can they get the hands? Less pressure out of Shedeur Sanders. But you're right, Ben. The biggest Achilles heel for this conference as a whole, it's going to be, can their quarterback stay healthy for the entire season? Because you look at Utah with Cam Rising. Can he stay healthy? Is he fine with his injury that he had for the Rose Bowl? Kansas State, young quarterback Avery Johnson, dual threat. They've got a great running game. That's another team to look out for. I'm not too concerned with Kansas State. Oklahoma State, Alan Bowman's had some issues. They bring back 20 of their 22 returning starters from last year. But the biggest Achilles heel for this team, and the sneakiest team, I think, in the Big 12, if their quarterback can stay healthy, but that's the biggest thing. He's been hurt every year, is Kansas. Kansas is a sneaky team at plus 950. Jalen Daniels, if you turn on Jalen Daniels' tape, he's one of the most dynamic quarterbacks on the field. They got the running back from last year. If you watch the Guaranteed Rate Bowl here in Arizona, their wide receivers went off. All 3 of them are back this season. And they've got a great coach with Lance Leopold. He's turned on multiple Power 4 bigger offers to stay at Kansas and turn this Kansas program around. I think they're a really sneaky team, Ben, but that's if their quarterback can stay healthy. That's the common theme with all these top teams, excluding Arizona, which Arizona, knock on wood, Fafita's solid, and him coming back with T-Mac, you're spot on. having an offense in this league is going to be huge. It's just going to be what defense can step up and what quarterback can stay healthy.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were wrapping it up there.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
I thought you were wrapping it up
You're
there.
good. I was going back to you, but what?
No, I agree with
Your last thoughts.
really quickly. No, I absolutely think you're right.
Funny.
I did. I was like, okay, he's gonna wrap it up here, put a bow on everything. It just quarterback play is everything. Noah Fafita, Cam Rising. You mentioned the kid from Kansas as well, and Shedeur Sanders. I think ultimately in a Big 12 in which offense rules everything that hasn't changed. I think teams like Utah and Arizona, who do have capable defenses, and Utah at times a really good defense, I still believe you're just going to lean more towards that than just the quarterback play of like Kansas or Colorado. Man, you mentioned it. Colorado's offensive line was so bad
Can't
last
get worse.
year.
Can't get any worse.
So bad last year.
Yeah.
It was like the old school Cardinals offenses in the NFL. So I agree with you. I still do believe it'll be. I think U of A is going to win this conference. But it is possible that the best years of U of A are behind them. Like, it is possible. But I believe Brett Brennan, from what I've read and what I've seen, is a capable head coach.
I agree.
And we'll see what happens at the end of the year.
Arizona plus 1,400 to win the Big 12. U of A plus 12,000 to win the Big 12. Arizona State plus 12,000 to win the Big 12.